So we lost some footage so we switched cameras. So what we were talking about was the protests that we went to. We actually went to the peaceful protests that were here. They were incredibly peaceful. But unfortunately, someone actually did hit one of the protesters. And maybe a couple days later, we found out that he passed away due to his injuries. And the story surrounding that was the fact that the driver had turned off his headlights, because this happened at night, and sped up and hit him. And then, what were you saying? About the protester, he said the guy who hit the protester started talking about how he didn't turn off his lights, that's not true, and stuff like that. We don't know exactly what happened because we weren't there. This happened on the night that we had left.
Yeah, we weren't there.
We kind of left early one of the protests because things were starting to get they weren't as peaceful as they were when we first started.
Mm-mm.
So we could feel it in the air, so we decided to, trust our judgment, and we left.
Yeah.
And then that happened.
Are you sure that happened at the one that we went to?
Mm-hmm. It happened that same night. And then what happened was after that, the police, when they were they caught the guy who did it, and then they were talking to him in such a calm manner.
Yeah. What's it called? When they arrested him, he was just sitting on the hood of his car, just calm, casually, and the police were just surrounding him, basically from the protesters, protecting him, because the protesters were pissed off, because you see this guy, this white man, who purposely hit a black man, and he's sitting on the hood of his car, relaxed, just having a casual conversation with the police. That's what it looked like. And every single day, all you have to do is go on social media, and then you'll see a person getting arrested for, something that's way less horrible. And they're getting beat up and kicked around.
Or pepper spray.
And, yeah, kneeled on. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, what are those things called? Where the bombs go up?
Like the flash bombs and the rubber bullets and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're getting shot at. But when you see people get arrested, they have them all on the ground, and people are bleeding, which shouldn't be happening at all when you're getting arrested.
Exactly.
And people are passing out and getting horribly injured. But you see this man who hit a person with his car, and you're just casually talking to him like he's one of your best friends.
Mm-hmm. That was really upsetting. Yeah, it was really upsetting to a lot of us, because we were saying that guy was just exercising his right to protest, and yet he had to get mowed down. And the guy who did it, just was just calm, he didn't do anything wrong. And then he was alive, and then he went to the hospital, and he was in critical condition. 3 days after that, he passed away due to his injuries. And then the guy who hit him was out on bail. I think he post bond. And then a lot of protesters were upset because they were saying that's not fair, because there was another gentleman who got arrested the first night of the protesting, and it was so peaceful. What happened was, the story that we were told, because we weren't there the first night. Mm-mm. So what happened was, it was a young guy. He was there protesting somewhere. I don't know how someone had made this assumption about him that he had a gun. And the police came, they arrested him, they searched him, but they couldn't find the gun. But he was sitting in jail, and his bond was $170,000 for this gun they never found. And so some members of his family, his friends, were asking if they could help, if they know any information about him, because they couldn't get a hold of him because they just had him in this sitting cell. And we were trying to figure out, how come the guy who allegedly had a gun, who happened to be a black male, was sitting in jail, but yet the guy who just ran over a person who ultimately ended up dying and killed him is not in jail, and he gets out on bond. And I was trying to figure out how come his bond was so low where he could afford it.
Exactly.
That's not fair. But yet the guy who allegedly had a gun,
there was no proof that he even had one.
He didn't have one. They never found it. They searched him high and low. They never found his gun, but yet he was still sitting in the holding cell, and we could not understand that. And while we were protesting and we were doing our march, we could hear all these people just heckling at us, telling us go home, all lives matter. I understand the fact that all lives matter, but all lives can't matter until Black lives matter. We want to be included in the all, and that's not fair that we're not included. And then I'm not just saying only Black people, because there are other people whose voices are getting silenced. And for instance, the Native Americans,
the indigenous people, yeah,
they're silenced. Nobody ever hears their cries.
When we say all lives matter, like what you said, it doesn't mean that just like, oh, our lives matter. It's like basically what we're saying is basically a reminder, because for some reason people forget that our lives are actually meaningful. It's like kind of like, when people say like, throw that in our face, well, all lives matter. It's like,
yeah, we understand that all lives matter.
But it's not true when people say that, because they don't see all lives as equal. So how could you say that?
When we say that, we just want...
We're just reminding you, hey, we matter too.
And it kind of hurts a lot of the time, because like a lot of the people who are out there, and they were talking about like different people's heritage, and they can go back and look at different people down their lineage. But us black people, we're such a mixing pot of people. We don't really know what we are. Like, for instance, like we are Choctaw, like Creole French, and Danish. That's what we know. We don't know anything else. So like a lot of the times, like, yeah, like that's what we know.
Like the black side, we have no idea what that is. What, it could be a part of some. We don't even know. Yeah. Because all our ancestry, or our black ancestry, just leads right back to slavery. That's not where we started.
No.
Why is that where it takes us?
When we look back, when we try to get some information about, like, our ancestors and stuff like that, we lose a lot of information when it comes to my grandmother's grandfather. That's where it just cuts off right there. We don't know anything else. We just know him, and that's it. And I kind of feel bad, because a lot of the times, like, I look at some people who can talk about, like, oh, my great-great-grandfather, he was here, and then he did this, but we can't say that. We don't even know. I know they're trying to include black people in a lot more things, which I think is great, but there is a problem that I see. Like, before, we were always considered as the token black person, and now they're trying to be more inclusive with us, and they're, opening this up for, narration. And I do think, this is what I agree with. I think that black history needs to be taught instead of glossed over. I do think that, because a lot of people now are only learning about black history from movies or TV shows. And I think that is wrong, because, sometimes movies don't get things accurately, or they'll tell it the way they want to tell it. But when I was in school, they went over slavery so freaking fast. Like, they would just, like, the only people I would hear about when I was in school was, like, Harriet Tubman or Martin Luther King. That's it. It was just, like, oh, these people existed. Okay, moving on. That's what I felt like. Like, when it came to the Holocaust, we stayed on that topic for, like, I think 2 months. When it came to black history, we were on it for a week, and that was it. And then I had one teacher. I can't even remember his name. I think I remember. I think his name was Mr. Mead. He was my history teacher when I was in the 8th grade. He was the only teacher out of all the schooling, even after like high school days, who actually stayed on the topic of black history. He showed us the ugly parts of slavery. Yeah, he showed us, yes, this is a horrible thing that happened in our country. Yes, it is a part of history, and I'm not going to, like, pretend like it didn't happen, so I can feel better about myself. But he showed us the ugly parts of it. And mind you, at the time, the school that I went to, I think it was only 2 black kids in the class. Oh, it was me and this boy. And I remember in the movie, he had us watching, like, the whole saga of Roots. Like, all the way from Roots to Next Generation.
Taking you a whole semester.
Yeah, and all the way up to, like, Alex Haley. And I remember there's the part where Kunta Kinte had ran away, and then they had strung him up and they beat him. I felt so uncomfortable watching that, even though I kind of knew it was coming, because my mom had taught us about black history growing up. And so when that part in that movie just made me feel like, oh, it just made my stomach just so, like, sick. And I felt really like, I felt kind of like an outcast, because I felt like every time they, like, would say, like, the N-word or say something derogatory towards black people in this movie, I felt like all eyes were on me. Yeah, I kind of felt like I should personally know about this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know anything about this. I'm learning it just like you are.
It's almost like they have some sort of, like, device implanted into their necks, where if somebody says the N-word, their necks just automatically just turn. And locate, their eyes will just locate the black person in the room. And since there was black person in the room, right there. There we go.
Since there was only 2 of us in the room, it wasn't hard to spot us out. But I remember that part when that happened. I actually walked out of the class. And then the guy, the other black kid in there, he followed right behind me. And then he asked me, our teacher came out and asked, like, hey, are you guys okay? And then he said, do you guys want to do something else? I said, no, I mean, I don't have a problem with, watching the movie. It's just this part is making me really uncomfortable. Because one, me and him were the only black kids in the class, and honestly, I didn't really want to watch some black guy being called the N-word or called like all kinds of derogatory names being beat in front of a class with like a bunch of white kids. I just felt really uncomfortable in that situation, and it kind of like made me feel, I don't know, I felt like I was alone, and like he was like the only other person who could like feel my pain and stuff like that. That's how I felt. But I feel like they should do better in schools. Like some kids, like they have no idea how far black history, like they don't even know their own black history. And I feel like another thing is too, I don't think they shouldn't just only teach black history too. I think other cultures' history needs to be taught too. Like I feel like Asian culture should be taught. I feel like Hispanic culture should be taught. Native American should be taught. Like even the Indian culture or like the Middle Eastern culture,
especially
should be taught.
What America looks like right now.
Yeah. I feel like they should know. We should know about their heroes, just like they know about our heroes. We should know about theirs and stuff like that. And we're saying that we're the land of the free, but yet, who are we actually free to? Like, who's actually free here?
I remember in 8th grade we did learn about the Islamic culture. That's what I do remember.
Like, what did you learn? Because I didn't learn anything.
We learned about like I can't remember because this was 8th grade, but it was like we learned about Muhammad, and then we learned about how they kneel and like why they fast.
See,
I can't remember everything. And then plus I did have a Muslim friend back then, so like if I wanted to know something, I would just ask her, and she was like she was good. She used to bring her Quran to school. She was really serious. She was really fun too. I remember her.
See, I didn't learn that much. You know, it was weird. Like when I was in school. Like, all the way up into the 7th grade, I didn't know that there were other religions, like, out there. One teacher actually taught us all kinds of different religions. But, like, in all honesty, I had no idea there were other religions out there. I always thought there was just one growing up. Because as I was in school, I was in public school. I wasn't like I was in a private school. But, like, they never talked about religion. They didn't talk about, like I did not know about the black heroes until I got literally into the 7th grade. Like, that's to me, that's sad. That is sad for someone to go that long and not know. Like, when they had Martin Luther King's birthday, like in elementary, what they would give us was a paper that was like a black and white paper, and then you had to color it. Yeah, and at the bottom it would just say, "I have a dream." That's it.
That's it.
Like, I didn't know who this man was. I never knew until I got maybe into the 7th grade. One of my teachers, either 7th or 8th grade, one of my teachers actually had us sit there and watch his speech. And I had no idea who this man was. And I was like, who is this guy? Because I'm like, oh, I remember who he is. Every time in February we would color his picture. But then, like, I never knew who he was. I never knew what he did. Why was I constantly coloring his face on this picture? I never knew until, like, I got either in the 7th or 8th grade about who this man was. Like, I had no idea. And I think that's sad that these kids have no idea who these people are.
For me, it was a little bit different. Like, when I was really little, with Martin Luther King and the whole movement back in the Civil Rights Movement. I mean, well, they weren't going to talk about it in like 2nd grade, or they were going to like water it down like a lot, because that's a lot for like a 7-year-old. But it was a bit unclear to me. But then as I got like maybe just a few years older, then it started getting more clear, because that was something we actually did talk about a lot, because that was around the time when Obama got elected. So we watched a lot of videos and stuff like that. And especially our music teacher, shout out to her. She is the one who actually, like, instead of watching, like, composers and stuff, we actually watched a lot of Martin Luther King's speeches. So, like, that's really great.
I think, also, I found out about Martin Luther King, too, when I was either in 7th or 8th grade. My mom had told me about this movie that she had seen, because our mom was a teacher, a preschool teacher for, like, a lot of years. And so she said there was this one kid who brought this movie in called Our Friend Martin. And then, so she asked could she borrow the movie from her job. I think they brought it in. I'm not sure if it was a kid who brought it in or a job had purchased the movie. But she asked could she borrow it. So she borrowed it and she showed it to me. I was either like in 7th or 8th grade. And that's when I finally figured out who this man was. And then I was just like, wow. I mean, I knew about the segregation and stuff like that was going on, but I had no idea who this guy was. And then when I finally saw who he was, I'm like, okay, that's why we celebrate him. Now I know he's more than just a picture that I'm coloring. He was fighting for justice, not for just only black people, but for all people. The the playing field would be level for everybody. You know, it wouldn't be, you know, one race should not be better than the other. And that's when I finally figured out who this man was. But not only did I was intrigued and I wanted to learn more. And I learned more about these people like Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman and Douglas. What's his name?
Frederick Douglass.
Oh my God. Frederick Douglass, I know. Oh, after I learned about all these people, and then that's when I was just like saying to myself and my mom, I don't know who any of these people are. And she was like, why not? Don't they teach that in school? And I was like, no. And then I had known about Frederick Douglass for a while, but I didn't hear his name come up in school until I was a junior in high school. And I thought that was sad.
Really?
Yes, that's the first time in school I heard his name come up.
I do remember learning about him in the 8th grade. Like, and our teacher, she was really cool about that stuff. I mean, yeah, I think, what's it called? We heard a lot of stories and stuff like that, but we didn't really stay on the topic for that long. But we did hear a lot of stories. And then when I was a junior in high school, that's when we stayed on the civil rights movement for a very long time. Yeah.
No, good. Because you guys actually stayed on it.
We watched a lot of documentaries, and not only that, like during that moment, we learned about like the Latino community. Then, I mean, that was basically like who was in our class. So why skip over it?
Oh, they skipped over it when I was in school. They didn't even talk about it.
Yeah, there was nothing but Latino kids and black kids in the class. So why skip over it?
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, so thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, hit that like button. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. And also, if you want to check out some more videos, we got more videos. We got mukbangs. We got stuff of us just vlogging and random stuff. Deja made some awesome whipped coffee. It tastes delicious. Alright, so comment below on, you know, this thing. If you protest, you know, give us a black heart in the comment section. And then also,
or if you just support the cause.
Yeah, if you support the cause and stuff like that. All right, there's we should be able to link some things that you can see about the Black Lives Matter movement. Also, get out there and vote. If you're at the age that you can vote, please register and vote, please, because we can't change this unless you go and vote. That's the only way we can actually make some change, is go out and vote.
That is a privilege that you do have. So
yeah, if you can vote, please do it.
Please use it. Yeah.
Alrighty. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Bye.